Special thank you to Seed and Stone Cidery and Lucky Buzz Meadery for sponsoring the show today. They help to make this show possible and supply us with the occasional beverage when we're out there. They've got 10 taps full of meads and ciders made right there in-house. They've also got all sorts of awesome events going on, including an open mic almost every single Thursday where you can come out and show your musical talent. So all you songwriters out there, stop out and grab a cider or a mead and tell them that the Songwriters Couch and the Patrick Jaouen Band sent you. Again, Seed and Stone Cidery right here in Rochester, New York. Go out and visit them and let them know we sent you. Thanks, guys.
All right, welcome to the Songwriters Couch, episode number 11. We're here with Chris Good News Cardwell.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
You did. You got it right. I was looking like, okay, what's he about to say?
Excellent. So, we're doing a little bit of a twist. So we were going to change the sign, but we might change it in post. Maybe put a little thing over it or something. Because you're not you are a musician by trade first.
Yes.
But then you've moved now into photography and comedy.
Yep.
So why don't we start kind of by like what you're doing now, what you've got going on, and then what we want everyone to know about you, I guess.
All right, cool. So I'm a photographer. That's what I do for a living. That's what I love. That's one of my passions. I've been doing photography for over 12 years now.
Which is also how we met.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we'll talk about.
Yep. I moved to Rochester in 2009, and since I moved to Rochester, and when I first moved to Rochester, as you mentioned in music, I was actually making beats at the time, but also practicing photography. And then because of certain situations, I ended up just going more so towards the photography route. But since I've done that, man, it's definitely been a blessing, and Rochester has shown an amazing amount of love with my photography career. But in the past year and a half, I ended up getting into stand-up comedy. I've been in the comedy world in terms of doing improv comedy for some years now. I always wanted to make the jump into doing stand-up. And a year and a half ago, I finally did, and it's been an amazing journey. I love it. It's one of my new passions, and it's addictive. It's like when you get on stage, it's like you get that rush, and then you want to get back on stage, and you want to try a new joke and see how you can work it in your routine and make people laugh. And it's just a fun, cool thing.
Yeah. So, and the reason I wanted to kind of have you on to talk about kind of comedy and that thing is because I've talked, I think, on almost every single episode about, because I watch a lot of comedy podcasts and all that sort of thing, right? Is primarily like what I'm watching. And so I hear a lot about the process of developing jokes and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, it's very similar to kind of the music experience, but it's also very different in a lot of ways.
Right.
And so you were a musician once, and then you're doing photography. And for me, you took a lot of pictures of me in the musical aspect, right? Live shows and the like. And as a matter of fact, I think you helped me when I was producing this TV show here initially.
Okay,
I had not powerful enough lights, and we needed to end up borrowing your lights, which is how we first met. And then we seemed to run into each other across the country, everywhere at random spots.
The world is so big but so small. It's crazy.
I thought it was Chicago, but I guess it was actually at the airport here. But I'm very interested in that process, and then what that jump is like, and then kind of what the beginning of doing that, like getting into comedy at first is like. So I guess we'll start kind of with the comedy part of it, and then we'll maybe go to photography.
Okay, cool.
Right, because the way it relates, I think, is kind of important. So how did you? Well, one, did you always want to do stand-up comedy, or is this something kind of new?
Well, I kind of got it from my dad. My dad's a jokester. He loves to joke around. Anytime he's ever met somebody, he's always telling a joke right off the bat. So I kind of get a good sense of humor from him. Not kind of, I do get a good sense of humor from him. And when I'm doing photo shoots, it's like I'm constantly interacting with people and making people laugh during the shoots and making them smile. So it's kind of a natural thing that I like to do already. So I just scare them if I'm taking pictures of that. So I just wanted to challenge myself and see if I could actually do it, because I was one of those things where I'm funny, but there's people that are just naturally funny that'll have a room cracking up, and you know what I'm saying. But I've never been one of those. I mean, I've had people laugh, but like when I was super naturally funny, I can't say I was one of those people. But when I challenged myself and really started learning about comedy and how joke structure works and how to work a crowd, and I took Yolanda Joel's comedy class, and that helped me out a million times. I took it twice. Actually.
I don't know who's the.
Yeah, so Yolanda Smiles and Joel James, they're Rochester legends, but they travel all over the nation doing comedy. Both been awesome. On TV with comedy specials. Joel James was on The Heart of the City, which was on Comedy Central. Yolanda tours all over the nation, does shows in Vegas, and they're really solidified in this comedy world. So,
man, it's funny too, because I moved up from Queens to Rochester. What was that, 20 years ago now? But the longer I live here in Rochester, the more I hear about like all the history of the
There's
arts.
A lot of history, man.
That came out here, like Tweet. Tweet. The artist.
Of course,
I didn't know she was like. You know how many times I listened to that song in Queens, like rocking out to that, and not knowing the meaning of the song firstly, but then I got the meaning.
Bro, do you know that not just Tweet, but Tweet, Jodeci, Timberland, Missy, Stevie J. I mean, there's a lot of people that actually were here in Rochester and recorded in Rochester. They used to have a studio called Jaouen Studios. Big shout out to Grand Tone, my big bro Grand Tone, because he used to run Jaouen. But they used to have all those artists here recording. It's like a little,
What's funny too, the sweatshirt that you have on there, the Comedy at the Cars.
Oh yeah, that's my home club.
So the last tour is on. Actually, that poster's for it. I was down in Memphis at Sun Studios, which is where like Elvis recorded his first song, right? And ended up
apple juice.
That's right. Thank you to Seed and Stone for sponsoring.
Apple juice. Thank you.
Sponsoring the episode. But I'm gonna take a sip too. So when I went down there, I recorded a bunch of songs, which that album's going to be coming out soon. I'm going to put that out as an EP. But the microphone that Elvis used to record that first ever song in Sun Studios that he put out, It's All Right, was that microphone that was made here in Rochester.
Oh, that
microphone. Yep. And so they had it there in the studio there, like the original microphone that used, and the mark on the floor, like where him. And I asked him, like, where, what's up with the microphone? He's like, oh yeah, it doesn't work. They were made and he mentioned Rochester. I was like, that's where I'm coming from, is Rochester, New York. So that, but there's so many like different people and artists and stuff that came out of here that you never would have.
People don't even know Champion came from Rochester.
I remember Champion. That's big now. Back in the day, that was like Kmart, Walmart stuff.
Right.
I used to rock some Champion.
Another big brand that a lot of people don't know, PSD underwear was actually started in Rochester. It's like a huge brand among celebrities right now.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, big shout out to Ryan and Kurt. I used to work with them on their ground stages of their company when they were here in Rochester, shooting their marketing material for them. They're out in LA now, but big shout out to them because they got that company booming right now.
What do you think it is? Like, do you think it's? So I noticed there. I come from New York City, and obviously there's a lot of competition around stuff there, right? So there's constantly this like drive to be kind of to stand out amongst the crowd. Like I almost feel like that's here, even though it's a smaller city. There's that like everyone's kind of doing stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you think that drives it, or do you think there's something else? Maybe it's in the water. Maybe Kodak.
I don't know. I feel like
drop some stuff in the water.
I feel like sometimes with Rochester stuff, it gets overlooked because it's like a lot of people don't know all this great stuff was done here in Rochester. So it's like I feel like a lot of our accomplishments aren't really talked about how they should be, to showcase the city in its real light, because there's so many talented people here, so many things that Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony and Xerox, Kodak, and just monumental things that have affected the world. And it's like, give Rochester our credit, man. Instead of just saying that we're just a horrible city.
Well, that's what we're doing now. Yeah, I think that's everyone that grows up though in their hometown. Yeah. Like they tend to like shit on their own city a little bit. You know what I mean? Where it's like even in Queens, like people are always shit on Queens or whatever. Yeah. But then you move out and you realize that all this cool stuff was happening there, and then everyone moving to the city is like, you don't see how great this is. Like I talk to Rochester people all the time, and I'm like, do you realize like how much like great stuff is happening here?
Yeah, man.
and there's some, obviously, like, the competition can breed some resentment towards people that are doing well if, people are just getting started or whatever. But how did you get into then, so your dad is funny.
Yeah,
right. And I understand what you're saying about people, like, there's naturally funny people like Chris Farley and
just people
and the
that
people
are just
that
will have you cracking up. Like, we all have that friend that's just like extremely funny. But the funny thing about that is you can be extremely funny, but then it might not translate on stage either.
Right.
Because a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm so funny. I make all these people laugh," and get on stage and can't get one laugh.
So what was the first? Did you do an open mic first?
Oh yeah, definitely. Open mic is the first thing.
Whereabouts?
Firehouse. No, was it Firehouse?
Did you ever do the Lovin' Cup too?
I did Lovin' Cup one time. Yeah. I did a show at Lovin' Cup. I never really did too many mics there. Actually, I think my first mic was Rosencrown mic. Huh. And then after that, then I went to
Was it a strictly comedy open mic? Or
strictly comedy. Yeah.
Have you ever done the combo music and...
Yeah, I used to run a mic. I used to run an open mic, and it was a combination of music and comedy. Yeah. So yeah, I've done it both. Just because it also helps with the crowd because sometimes you can get people that might not want to hear comedy, but they want to hear music and stuff like that.
Well, that's what I always admire, because I do a lot of open mics. I just like going and seeing people get up there for the first time if they haven't played music or whatever. I don't know why I love that so much. Just seeing them be like because you could tell that they've wanted to do it for so long, and they get up there. A lot of times they're so nervous that it's terrible, whatever they do.
But it's such a great feeling after you complete it.
Yeah, like I always give them praise, like, oh, that was great. Like, come back and do it again. Because the second, third, fourth time they're going to be significantly better because they're going to be comfortable up there. I really get a lot of like joy from watching people
it's
do
dope.
that.
And then seeing how people can grow too as well. It's just really cool.
And you run an open mic here too.
Yeah, so
right?
I run an open mic on Wednesdays. So we treat it more like a show than we do open mic, but it's at Rock Cinema. That's like on South Goodman and Clinton. That's right across the street from the Angry Goat. But it's every Wednesday around 8:30.
That's the place that has like a bar. You can buy booze and stuff
it's
in
a
there
bar.
too.
It has a bar, food, and everything in there. I mean, it's an amazing spot. My comedy team is called The Basement. So so we switch.
Oh, you have a whole team.
Yeah, so we switch hosts every week, so you make sure you get a fresh new host each week. And we're constantly promoting to bring in a good crowd, because one of the most important things I feel like is being able to perform in front of a crowd. If you're a comic, not just comedians, because a lot of open mics are just comedians. So I work hard at trying my best to make sure we have people to be there for the comics, and so they can really work on material. And then I'll record sets for comics so they can go back and watch it and get better and do what they have to do to get better at the craft. I
do that too. I always record myself, because you find yourself doing certain things. Even on this, she'll yell at me when I'm on camera if I have my hands in the way or whatever. But if you watch yourself, you're fidgeting or whatever, something, you're doing something that's distracting. Not only the material, obviously you want to kind of hone that part of the act or what you're doing, but all of it, like how you're standing, probably means a lot when you're delivering a joke and all that.
Standing, looking, all of that, because if you're not confident, the audience is going to translate to the audience.
Yeah, uncomfortableness but in comedy, uncomfortableness can work.
It can, if that is your vibe. Everybody. The thing about comedy is, I look at comedy as like kung fu. Like, there's a lot of different styles of kung fu, you know what I'm saying? But it's all about, knowing your discipline of kung fu and how you perform it or fight with it, When we get on stage, it's like, you're using your form of kung fu to see how you can attack the crowd. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, different people are amazing at different disciplines. So that's just kind of like my own little thought process on it.
So when you went to go, so you said Rosencrown?
Rosencrown was one of the first mics I did.
First one. How did you do? Did you bomb at that, or was it so?
I did so. Like, I can't say, like, I've bombed, of course, but I've always got some laughs, like even if I did bomb, I did get some laughs, but maybe I didn't get laughs through my whole set. But it's been pretty. I mean, I cannot complain about my comedy career, my comedy journey. Maybe because I'm just a straight positive thinking person. Life is perception.
You are pretty positive. Yeah.
Different people look at things in different ways. But
sometimes, if I want to be moody, I got to mute you on Facebook so that I don't get too positive. I'm a musician, Chris, so I have to,
I already understand.
I have to get into the darkness sometimes, you know?
Most comedians do too.
I don't mute you.
But it's just like, so it's just like one of those things for me that it's just like, I just try to look at the positive perspective things. If I don't do well, I try to learn, and then I'll come back. Because I'm one of those type of people, if I do have a bad night, I'm ready to come back the next night and prove to myself that I can do better.
Yeah. Do you tend, like, if a joke you do kind of doesn't land appropriately, do you go back and work on it?
Oh, yeah.
Or do you say, I'm
tweak.
going to scrap that? And
it just depends on how bad it goes, you know? If you can get, it's like some jokes, you know, you might not land the first time, but it'll have legs. Like you can see, like, okay, if I maybe change a couple words, take these couple words out, then it might work.
Yeah.
You know, and then some jokes, it's just like, no, that shit sucks. I'm not going to do it anymore. So it just really just depends.
I've heard that that's kind of like you have to work it out on stage, because you could be thinking in your head as you're writing the joke, right? Oh, this is gonna be great, and then you go deliver it to a crowd, and no one reacts to it.
It's so funny because you'll write a joke, and then you'll deliver it as the, you know, how you see it delivered, and you'll say the punchline, and you'll look around like, okay, they didn't laugh at this shit. Then you got to keep going, and then they'll mess around and laugh at something that you didn't even intend them to laugh at. So it's like picking out those little things. Like, okay, they didn't laugh at this, but they laughed at that. So let me take this part out, put this first, and rearrange it to make it actually work.
So so it's interesting because you have to kind of change it every single time. And sometimes, did you ever change a joke and then it ends up worse than the first time you did it?
Yeah, I can say I've done that before. Or you change a joke and then it works, and then it never works again. That happened a couple of times. But that shit crushed. And then you keep doing it. It's like, okay, it's not crushing like it used to.
That can be the same with music, though. So sometimes I've learned now you got to play
to your audience,
to the audience, right? And unless you're in a stadium where, you know, everyone's bought tickets just to hear your hits or whatever, you're playing mostly to people that maybe have not heard you before. You're kind of, you know, you gotta come off one strong, but you've got to read the room.
Have to read the room, and that's feel so important in comedy.
What's happening. Because I've played, you know, a song that I just wrote and I'm super happy about it. I go to an open mic, and just the mood in the room is different than what I'm doing, and it ends up no one's reacting to it or anything like that. And I like, similar to like an open mic where you're going to somewhere, maybe no one knows your comedy or whatever, going to an open mic where people are eating and stuff and drinking and whatever, and maybe they're not prepared to be paying attention to a show. And my thought on it, and this is kind of a tip for songwriters and comedians and what have you, is that if you can get the people that have no intention of paying attention to you to pay attention to what you're doing on stage, if they're looking like they're fighting everything to not look at you, you know, they're trying their hardest not to react. If you can get them on your side, then you know the material is good. You know what I mean?
Man, that's the most important thing, is when, especially as being a performer, period, is grabbing the audience's attention. If you can't grab the audience's attention, then you're in deep water. But I feel like that's even more important for a comedian, because if you don't have, you know, with music, you have the beat, you have different elements that can really, you know, help push what's the vibe of the room. It's like they don't necessarily have to even be looking at you, you know, they can be just vibing, you know. And with comedy is different, because it's
look at people's feet sometimes. If they're tapping their foot, even if they're not paying attention, because I'm like, all right, I got them.
It shows that they are still paying attention, in a sense. With comedy, it's like you're up there by yourself, it's no music, it's no nothing. If you don't say the right things, then it's not gonna go good. So in those situations, like when you were just talking about, when if somebody's just sitting there eating, or you have to grab the audience attention, you know, first I might say something like, you know, how you guys doing tonight? Is this your first time? Make some noise if this is your first time here. Now they gotta clap and
get kind of
right. You know what I'm saying? If this your first time seeing me, let me hear you make some noise. You know, clap. Then you might go into a little crowd work, because one thing that with comedy is you have to prove that you're funny to draw them in. So sometimes before I get on stage, especially if I'm in a new venue, I'll look at what's going on in the venue, how the venue looks, or the surrounding area of, you know, where the comedy show is. And as soon as I get on stage, I'll try to say something relatable to that to connect with the crowd. And the crowd is like, oh, he made a joke off his head. That's funny. And we all can look around and relate to that because I can look and actually see that. Yeah. Then they're like, okay, well, let me hear what else he has to say. And then you kind of, from there, kind of go into your jokes. And then people are interested in hearing your jokes because you just did something that they weren't expecting off the top of your head. And now you're into your set. Now you got their attention. Yeah. So that's kind of how like I approach it when I'm trying to capture the crowd's audience or capture the crowd's attention. Straight crowd work first, and then I'll go into my material.
Yeah, crowd work. Even with music, I've learned now though, if I've got a show where everyone is coming specifically to see us, right, where I've got a crowd full of like people have seen us before, familiar with my material, all that kind of thing, I tend to not do much crowd stuff when it comes to music. I tend to do just song after song after song, and then we have a planned kind of part of the song where we'll promote the next show or the album, or hey, there's the merch table, all that kind of stuff, right? But if I'm in a new room with different people, especially on a tour or something, I tend to do the same thing. I try and get them to engage with me on stage first, and then I'll play something that's gonna like work with them. When you write material, like how does that come to you? Is it like an inspiration in a moment where you experience something and you're like, you know what, this is a funny thing.
My material comes to me usually spontaneously. I like to keep it organic with how I write, because for me personally, I mean, I try to sit down and write, but anytime I try to sit down and write, I can't write. It's hard. It's like I'll sit down and I'll be like, fuck, what should I write? Can I cuss on this? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be like, fuck, what should I write about? I
always say yes to that, and I know YouTube is just tanking
so I'll try not to curse too much. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
But I'll try to figure. It's like I'll sit down and I can't figure out what I want to write about first because I have so many ideas in my brain. So a lot of times when I get ideas and I start to write, it's because something hit me spontaneously, or I'm in a situation where I'm like, oh, that's funny. Let me write that down. Then as I write it down, I might get another idea, and then I'll just kind of start writing that way. So a lot of things that I come with are more like organic, on the spot, just kind of like, oh, somebody said this, it triggered this in my brain and made me think this. Or I'll be in the shower and I'll just think of something and I have to hop out the shower real quick, butt naked, get my phone, write it down real quick so I don't forget, stuff like that. And then later on I'll go back. I can go back, look at it, try to add some tags.
Do you find that it's like usually about the situation you're in, or do you feel like it's typically just something you're like you have this internal dialogue that's happening that kind of comes out?
I think it's a little bit of both, you know, because then it's like the situations are what make things relatable. Like, because you know, a lot of times you'll go through a situation and you'll be like, I wonder if anybody else been through something like that, and most likely they have, you know. So it's like those situations different situations can make great jokes because they're relatable, you know. And then sometimes I have that inner dialogue where I'll be thinking to myself, okay, you know, this could be funny, you know, how can I make this funny? Even if it's not a situation that happened to me, but it's a funny topic, a funny situation, I'll try to see if I can spin it and make it funny or something like that. But then it all comes with getting on stage. That's why open mics are so important, because you can think something is hilarious and get on stage and it does not connect.
I always admire, like I said, at the open mics, the comedians that'll come to a mainly music open mic, because sometimes I know you said that that's good in some instances, and I think that's maybe because you ran the open mic, right? You're thinking about that. When I've seen comedians trying to get up at an open mic that's primarily music, and they just get up and they're the only comedian in the entire lineup, sometimes it bombs, not because the material is
because the people aren't there for comedy.
Yeah, they're not prepared.
But do you know what,
to be in a comedy show?
This might sound weird. I like those situations.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Because
is that
if you get
I have
up
so
there,
much respect for it. I feel like you learn probably a lot.
Not just that, but it's like you said, the people aren't prepared for comedy. So if you can get up there and make them laugh, it's like, okay, I have something. You know, when you go to comedy clubs and stuff like that, people are coming prepared to laugh. You know what I'm saying? They're ready to laugh. They might give you a pass a little bit because it's like, okay, I'm here to laugh. Okay, well, that was kind of funny. But if the situations like that where people are like, why is he getting on stage? I want to hear the next track. I don't want to hear any jokes. And then you get on stage and like, oh, he's funny.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
it's almost
I get joy from that.
Yeah, it's more validating almost that the material is good if you can get
100%. Like, for example, I was in this competition. It was a big shout out to my boy Finesse and Mad Bread. They had a competition called the Headliner Competition, and it was a music competition where they were trying to figure out who the next music headliner was. But I went and auditioned and I did comedy, and it was like, you had, when I went to the show, they had all these music acts going up first, and I had to switch it and do comedy right there. Like, people weren't even prepared to that, but I did really well. So it was like one of those things where I felt very good about myself, because I'm like, wow, if I'm able to do this here, then I feel like I can go for fire.
I've heard a lot of comedians talk about too, like if they're, I don't know if you're headlining shows or doing that sort of thing right now.
Not yet. But I still got a lot to learn.
As they have like, as they grow an audience and they have a headlining set, some comedians get really entrenched in their own audience and not like getting new fans, so to speak. So they always play to the people that they know are going to laugh, and they never build new material. So their material tends to not be as good as people that always play to brand new rooms of people, brand new cities, all that sort of thing, because you have to constantly be working on how can this be more ubiquitous across,
I think in my opinion, with that, I think with especially with comedy, when you're first starting off, you kind of have to like kind of try to play to different rooms to kind of develop your style of comedy. But then when you develop your style of comedy and certain things that that you want to talk about, then it's like you said, you build your fan base around those certain things. So then people really aren't, I don't want to say people, but then comedians, I think, just continue to play off their style of comedy, and then it's like that's
distill it down to like,
what I'm saying? It's like, well, these are my fans. This is what I'm, doing. I'm doing my style of comedy. It's not necessarily that they're playing to their fans. It's just like that's just them as a person, and the people and their fans are what relate to them. So I think that's that's just kind of when people get bigger in comedy and they find their voice. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. When you find your voice and what you really want to talk about, because each comedian, you have political comedians, then you have comedians that tell stories about their life, then you have comedians that just say silly one-liners. So it's just really finding.
I only do dad jokes. That's
you have dad jokes, people that do dad. So it's really you can play to a crowd of dads.
I look them up on the internet first, and then
it's really just figuring out what you want your style to be, and then that'll determine what your audience is.
Well, what's your style, Chris?
That's I feel like that's a very interesting question for me when it comes to my comedy.
Would you say it's like situational?
I think me personally, I'm so new in comedy. I really am a student in comedy, and I feel like I'm so new in it. Like I'm only a year and a half, even though I'm doing amazing, and I'm traveling. I'm still doing shows, and I might be doing a little bit better than somebody else that started for a year and a half. But I'm still trying to find my voice in comedy. I'm still trying to figure out like what is it going to be that it's going to be the things that I talk about mostly. What are going to be the things that I'm going to be what's going to be passionate to me to really talk about and try to relay a message. Because with comedy is not just about making people laugh. It's about really trying to relay some kind of message. If any of the great comedians that have been a part of the comedy industry, they all, even though they're funny, they all somehow relay a certain message in their comedy, and I think that's what makes them great. So that's what I have to, I have time, but that's kind of like what I'm growing into now. My material, is special because I can talk about being a photographer from a photographer's perspective, because a lot of people aren't comedians and photographers. So, that's kind of like something that's unique to me and my material. But I like to talk about all different kinds of things, silly things that inspire me, sex, women, photography, sports, silly stuff like fucking ghosts. I don't know. I just talk about anything that comes to.
You said fucking a ghost?
Yeah, it's called spectrophilia. I have a whole joke about that, and because I read an article about it and it interested me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write a joke about it. It's one of my favorite jokes too. So, it's just one of those things that it's like. Me personally right now, I'm just writing about any and everything that just comes to my mind that I think might be funny, and I'm just just finding my voice, and I'm just gonna keep working until I figure out.
So
what
I know
that's
you're
gonna
saying you're kind of new to it, but you did take a course. So I'm assuming like the parts of a joke, and with regards to like songwriting, there's a simple kind of format to stuff that generally will get you a song. Verse, chorus, intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro, right? And then of course you can make that more complicated or just go free, free balling it. Is that a way to call it? So like, what are with
comedy? You have setup, premise, punchline. So you have your setup for your joke, then you have your premise, and then you have the punchline of what makes the actual joke funny.
And do you think that because I've tried to analyze like how jokes. I don't really know the art of comedy, and I don't think I'm very funny. If I was to get up on stage and tell jokes,
honestly, bro, it's really like, have you ever laughed at something and you'd be like, I don't know why I laughed at that, but it just was like you listen to a comedian and you're like, that's funny, but I don't know why I laughed at that. It's because it's the structure of how it was told, and it just does something to your brain that just makes you laugh. It's weird.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. Is it like always? Because I feel like it's the surprise. Like it's not.
It's the element of surprise. It's the turn.
What you're
it's
expecting.
The turn. So it's like, I got a joke where I'm like, I had a photo shoot with a family that had a deaf in the family. They came in and, they were just acting real ghetto. They just, they wanted me to do a family portrait with their loved one in the sky. The picture they gave me, the dad was looking down on the family like he was looking disappointed. It was crazy. So, I did the photo shoot for him. The little girl, she was acting really disrespectful. She had her phone out. She's doing TikTok. She wouldn't cooperate. I'm like, let's smile. Let's get this photo. She's like, I don't care about none of that. You ain't my dad. It's Crip gang over here. Crip. I'm like, hold on. This is my studio. I don't want to hear about none of that Crip stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I would never do that because I'm a professional. But the aunt reaches over and punches her in her head. Bow. Now I'm standing there like, oh, shoot. And then the aunt goes, it's a blood family. I want to hear about none of that Crip stuff. And I'm like, this is a blood family with a Crip orphan in my studio. What is going on? So now they start fighting. They start knocking over things in my studio. When I finally get them to stop, they're looking at me and I'm looking at them. And I'm just like, you guys are totally acting out of character for a white family. I'm just... So, but that's the turn. The whole time you're thinking, okay, this is a ghetto black family, but then the turn at the end is it's a white family. So that's the thing about comedy, is trying to find a nice angle to actually make your audience, you captivate them with the story, and then at the very last minute, boom, you hit them with something that they're not expecting.
Huh. Now, so how long did it take you to kind of write your first like really structured, joke? Was that kind of like after you took your course, or did you have to do that during the course that you were taking? Like,
so the course taught us a lot of that. I also got this book called The Comedy Bible.
You're welcome to take more.
I'm about to get some more apple juice too. Some more apple cider.
What was the name of it?
So The Comedy Bible. So I got a book called The Comedy Bible because a lot of my mentors suggested that I get the book and read it. So that taught me a lot about joke structure. And then when I took Yolanda and Joel's class, it put it more into perspective, because then now you have somebody that's there that can show you firsthand how it works. Also, watching this YouTube, the dude name is Jerry Corley. They call him the joke doctor. He has some amazing videos on joke structure, laughter triggers, and things that can help you with your joke writing. So I watched a lot of him, took a lot of notes, and I'm a student of comedy. It's like once you understand joke structure, then you can watch comics and pick out how they're structuring their jokes. As a practice, like, okay, that's their setup. That's the premise. Okay, that's how they delivered the punchline, and then that can kind of give you an idea of how to set your jokes up. You never want to copy or steal a joke, but you can kind of see how people have gone into jokes, and kind of not mimic it, but understand how to put it into your own style to make it work for yourself.
Do you feel like so? As a musician, sometimes, and I heard someone, I forget who the musician was. It was a very famous musician. That said, basically, when they go to watch another musician play or a show or whatever, a lot of the times you're thinking, I could do that, or I could do that better, or something like that, right? And he actually made this comment. One time, he was watching a video of his own performance on YouTube, and it was from like a couple of years prior or something. And he caught himself thinking to himself, I could do it better than that guy. Like the current him could do it better than the old version. So sometimes I'll go out to concerts or whatever, and as a musician, I'm thinking like on stage, like I almost like can't get into it because I'm thinking about all the technical aspects of like what the stage looks like, what they're doing on stage, like how the songs are structured, why people are getting into it. Like, do you think that by studying it and kind of learning the technical aspects of comedy, like you've gotten, like you've lost the ability to kind of watch comedy without being conscious of it?
I cannot watch comedy without analyzing it. It's hard to watch comedy now and just be a fan, because I'm in it and I'm looking at it from a different perspective. I'm looking at it from a perspective of like, why is he delivering it that way? Why did he say this word instead of that word? Why did he take a pause right there? Why did, it's like because all of that really matters. It really does. And then it's like when you start touring with different comedians, and, because sometimes you could watch an act and you'd be like, wow, it just seemed like he just talked to the crowd the whole time. It just seemed like he just was coming off the top of his head. And then you'll go to the next show and he does the same show the same exact way. And you're like, oh, okay, what he's doing is really calculated. It's not that he's, just talking to the crowd. It's just that he's developed his act in a way where he knows exactly what's going to hit, where he's comfortable enough to make it into a conversation. Because that's really what I feel like comedy is best, when it's in conversational form. Yeah. Because then it kind of catches people off guard. It gets you like, okay, we're just talking. Oh, punchline. I forgot this was a comedy show.
Yeah.
Then you start to laughing. So
yeah, it's a skill to make it like so comfortable.
It is a skill, man.
And I think that's the same with like writing music and writing songs, like getting people to kind of forget that they're watching. I almost like it more, like I said, when someone's tapping their foot in the background, because I could tell that they're actually listening to what's happening, versus you have some people that are watching it or whatever, and you can tell they're kind of like getting into it because they're trying to be polite almost with I need to be paying attention 100% of the time to what's happening. But I feel like almost being background music sometimes is almost more fun than being like right out in front. Maybe I'll do a set at your next.
Come through, man. Comedy. Come try it out.
I think
come to the stage. Yeah, my boy back.
I think I had one show. When was it? It was around maybe around Halloween St. Patrick's Day, and in my set, in between each song, I mixed like dad jokes in between each song or whatever. I was playing around with it. Actually went all right. Like by the end, people kind of knew that it was like tongue in cheek. You know what I mean? That I wasn't really trying to just get people
having fun with it. Yeah.
Stupid jokes that weren't really funny, but it was funny because
they're dad jokes,
right? Because they're dad jokes, and I'm not a comedian or whatever. So, but let's talk also about your photography, because I can see that that's probably a similar, and you have this problem that I have, where you like being creative in all these different sorts of ways, right? So you like get to something and you're probably naturally good at stuff. I can tell.
Yes,
you're kind of naturally somewhat good, and then you start learning it, and then people are like, "Why is he so freaking good at all this stuff naturally and whatever?" And they get mad at you, and then you have to hide the bodies and all that kind of thing. But like, no, but you're like originally that's kind of how we met. Yeah. So like I said, you had lent some lights for a production that I was doing, because I had gotten into film, and I talked about this with was it the last episode with Sully, about going and doing RIT student films so that I can get an education on like how all this stuff works, like with lighting and the camera angles and what how to do like three cameras and all that stuff for TV. But like photography and film and stuff, there's a lot of technical aspects to it that you have to learn. Yeah. So how did you originally get into photography and doing that as a business? And I would assume probably just for the fun of it, right? Was just the aesthetics of like.
So photography started for me in Akron, Ohio. That's where I'm originally. I'm from Cleveland, but I was living in Akron before I moved to Rochester. And me and my frat brothers, shout out to Corey, Amos and my boy Eric Clark. We had a company called Frontwork Entertainment in Ohio, and we had models, and it was a promotional company. So we promoted, different clubs, and with models and bottle girls and stuff like that. So we had a photographer that we worked with at the time. The photographer just was doing some really unprofessional things with our models, so we had to stop working with him, and we weren't paying him much, so it's like we were kind of a broke company.
Yeah.
So we didn't have money to pay another photographer, and I played around with it at a couple of shoots. So I just was like, I'm gonna try it out and just see, if I can just hold this down for us until we could find another photographer. And I ended up loving it. And then when I moved to Rochester and this was in like 2007. And then when I moved to Rochester in 2009, I was trying to find a job within my major, which is psychology. I got a bachelor's degree in psychology from Hampton.
Shit. Maybe that's why you're a comedian.
Possibly. So I couldn't find a job within my major, and I was like, man, well, let me see what I could do with this photography thing. Was already kind of doing it out here as a hobby, and people were inquiring about my services. So I was working at Sutherland at the time, and I told my mom, I said, yo, it's hard for me to book shoots because people are always constantly asking me to shoot, but I'm always at work. And she said, well, son, you can always go back to Sutherland. Why don't you see what you can do with photography? Yeah. If you take it seriously, I will make sure that you're good until you reach a level where you can take care of yourself. And we're getting that.
That's unbelievable.
Right. And
shout out to your mom.
My mom, shout out to my mom for believing in me. She's always had my back 100%. Has been one of my biggest supporters.
That's sometimes few and far between.
Yeah.
Your parents being like, I'm going to do this crazy thing I'm about to do that makes no sense to anyone else.
Nah, that's a fact.
And they
you know what? I think with my mom also, I've have a good track record of when I put my mind to something, I do it. So I think she kind of was like, if he could totally focus on doing this, then he can be successful. And she, gave me that. She gave me that as a gift, and I didn't look back. And because of that, I've been able to build what I have today. And like I said, big shout out to my mom believing in me, because that's helped me build a very successful career in photography.
So then you moved from Akron now to Rochester.
Yep.
And that's, again, we met there. But then I had you come out and do some photography for I think a Fringe show.
Couple different things.
Else. Yeah, I need to actually get some new photos here.
I got you, bro.
We've been kind of talking back and forth for a year about doing that, but we're both busy, so I know there's no. I'm still planning on doing that because you're a great photographer. But you started doing that, and then now you have your studio here. Which why don't we might as well shout out that too.
250 Cumberland, Suite 246. That's where my studio is located. It's the old post office building in Rochester. If anybody wants to follow me or check out some of my work, you check me out on Instagram at I_am_good news. And the good news is actually spelled GOODKNEWS. And the reason there's a K in the good news is because my fraternity, I'm a member of what's called Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I'm a Kappa. And my older bruh, or one of my big bros, gave me the name Good News because I'm a real positive person. I used to always be talking about positive things. And this is back in like 2006, 2007. In Ohio, I always be talking about positive things.
Yeah, not a lot of positive people in Ohio, right? Especially in Cleveland. But don't worry, I'm from Queens. Right. Same thing in Queens.
He kind of would say it as a joke, like, and in like a smart ass joke, like, "Oh, here comes Good Brother Good News," or "Good Brother Good News is coming around again." Because when you address somebody in a fraternity, you say "Good." Like my last name is Cardwell, you would say "Good Brother Cardwell" or "Good Brother," whatever. So he just started saying, "Here's Good Brother Good News," but then he started saying it around different people that were in our fraternity, girls and stuff like that, and he just started thinking my name was Good News.
Yeah.
So it kind of just stuck, and I never thought that nickname would stick, but it just kind of stuck. And then when I was trying to think of a name for my photography company, I went through so many different nicknames. So many different names for my business, and I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna call it Good News Photography because that's who I am. I am Good News.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I came. That's why I named it Good News Photography from the beginning. But that's how I got the actual name. And
I will say, so for portrait photography and headshots and full body stuff and the fashion stuff, you're awesome. I haven't seen you do a lot of, or at least I haven't seen your work with regards to like if you do any like out in the world, landscape
I
type
do,
of stuff?
I do all types of landscape. Also, not just landscape, but
like business photography,
lifestyle type type shoots. I do pretty much everything. Anything that involves creative imagery, that's pretty much.
Well, you're super talented at that.
And I appreciate it, man.
I've tried to do the photography thing. I'm all right, I guess. But the lighting, as you could tell today when you showed up,
guys
Chris,
are kind of working
struggling.
it out.
Yeah, it's still a work in progress. But where that last episode, I had my daughter managing the cameras because Allie was sick. So I didn't notice, but the camera was like up almost to the ceiling. And so I apologize for the last episode. The main camera angle was a little weird, but it was my 13-year-old daughter. So
give her a break. She's
don't
13.
Give me any shit,
yeah.
right?
I'll never miss another episode.
But I think I'm hoping we're getting it down to the science. And I think, like you, from doing it over and over and over again, looking and being like, oh, this probably, I'm going to do this different the next time.
It's all about the reps, man.
Yeah, and doing things a few thousand times, eventually you kind of get the hang of it.
You get it. I mean, when you put the reps in, you're going to figure it out because it's like you're constantly, as long as you're evolving with it as well, looking at what you could do better, change it, do it again. And one of my sayings that I created is I say confidence and consistency. That's some keys to success. You stay confident in what you're doing, you stay consistent at it, and there's no way that you won't be successful at it.
So that's another positive message from Good News. Chris, Good News, Cardwell. But where do you get that from? Was that a conscious decision to think like that? Because I remember...
I got it from my dad, honestly.
So from the time
the mindset. So
was it something where you were originally like you had some negative commentary or something?
Not even that. Like I've always been like a very nice person in my life, but I would say my dad helped put things in perspective for me, and maybe around 2007, 2008, because he introduced me to something was called The Secret. Now my dad has been practicing The Secret for years, but he introduced me to it around this time, and it's just really the Secret explains how to think positive, but not only think positive, why thinking positive attracts different things to you in different ways, and how when you don't think positive, you attract negative things to you, and why you don't want to say certain things and talk certain ways and do certain things because it can attract a negative lifestyle. So I refer anybody, because this is exactly how I live my life, and I swear since I've learned The Secret and I've applied it to my life, it really has changed the dynamic of my success. I would suggest anybody just go watch it, and it's really it's really something really basic, and it's basically, Now,
is this a YouTube video?
You can go to YouTube and watch it for free, but it's also a book.
Yeah,
yes.
I think
I hate to say this, I'm not a big reader. Yep.
Yeah, I don't read it.
Yes,
oh, do you?
DVD and they show the DVD they have on for free on the YouTube. You can watch it free on YouTube. So I always send my friends a YouTube.
Chris, I'm not a big audiobooks while I'm driving from state to state. That's generally so when I read books.
But it's a great tool to understand how your mindset can affect your life. And I believe in it. I'm gonna say not believe in it. It's a science. It's proven that you think positive, you put out positive energy, you'll get it back. If you think negative thoughts, you'll get that. So, but it puts it more into a perspective to teach you how to
like in a practical sense,
how to practice it in your everyday life and how you should do things. Instead of like a lot of people say that I'm broke and I never have no money and I never get a job and I never do this, and they're constantly broke and they stay broke because they're putting that out to the universe instead of saying to yourself, money comes to me easy and often. Paid photo shoots come to me easy and often. Things like that, and then getting your mind into the right mindset to attract that success, receive it, and then once you start getting it, because the thing about it is you can't just think these things and expect it to happen. Right. You have to think it and also put the work behind it. And when you put the work behind it with the mindset, then that's how you're able to attract it.
Yeah, because I think that's sometimes people hear the message of like, oh, you got to be positive and you got to, like, the manifesting thing is like, oh, you got to manifest things, and I understand the what that means behind it, but it can be taken on very face value. Like, I'm manifesting these things, but that's not what it is. It's exactly what you said. If the work isn't there, it doesn't matter
not going to work. It doesn't matter what you do. I mean, you can manifest anything in your life, but with manifestation also comes a good work ethic and a good mindset and pushing yourself to get there, you know?
And I think almost it helps you with your work ethic to think in that way. Because if you're thinking, I'm doing this and it's just going to fail, that's going to come through in whatever the work.
Come through in whatever you're doing.
Yeah, that you're doing. If you're doing it and you're like, this is going to be the best thing that ever happened, and this is, I'm super proud of this thing that I'm doing.
Mindset, bro.
It's amazing how much that really,
It's crazy. Life is all about perception, man. Anything the mind can conceive or believe it can achieve. If you're, anything that you believe you can do or you can't do, you're right. If you think you can do it, you can do it. If you think you can't do it, you can't do it. Life is really that simple. I think sometimes people make it too hard, and I need money. I need to do it like this. I need to do it like that. No, what you need to do is just make a plan and just work your plan.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of things without money because, I made a plan, and I planned around it. Okay, if I don't have money, I'm going to try to do this creatively. And then what happens is you'll be working your plan, and then next thing you know, oh, this just came, or I just had this situation come to me where, oh, now it's giving me what I need. The universe is giving me what I need to complete my goal, and I didn't even know it was going to come that way. Yeah. So it's like you got to put that work behind it. You got to, have that right mindset, and spread love and treat people with positivity, and it's always going to come back. Be a blessing to receive a blessing.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Like the people, and as I get older, I try and express that too to like people that are especially in this kind of business. Entertainment business is tough. Like you're going to be rejected constantly. You're going to be told that your stuff is terrible. I've had someone that was like a fan of my music be like, I like your new stuff now, but your old stuff was pretty terrible. Like to my face, I'm like, why would you say that to someone? First of all, up. Right? But
it's like, damn, I'm glad you like the new stuff.
But if I didn't, I think the point of it is like, if I don't, I don't need them to believe in what I'm doing. I believe in what I'm doing. Right. And so I'm going to continue to do my the work, and I'm going to continue to believe that what I'm doing, because I'm passionate about it, means something, and that it's good work as long as I'm putting in the effort to make it the best I can do. And I think that a lot of people, they'll put very little effort into what they're doing, and then they're assuming that everyone's going to hate it, and they have this negative mindset, especially where I'm from. I mean, you're from a big city too, right? So like in Queens, there's so many people that, I'm just going to be here for the rest of my life. I can never get out of this situation. And it's like, yeah, but there's a lot of people that did, and like it is
it's
possible.
It's all perception, man. It's all how you look at it,
and it's not just the perception. Obviously, you got to put the work into it too. And I think the mindset then gives you the energy to be able to go out and put that work in consistently and do it day after day after day, and do things that are kind of, maybe your early versions of the stuff. Your first comedy set is not going to be as good as your comedy sets now.
Yes, 100%.
And you're putting in the work every day, or as often as you can, obviously, to get it better. Are you working on like an hour? Or are you working on trying to get?
So me personally right now, I'm just working on, just solid material and solid jokes. I have about probably 15 to 20 minutes of solid material. For a headliner, you want to have at least 30 to 45 minutes to an hour of solid material. I could do probably longer than a half hour, but will it be all, amazing jokes? Probably not. So it's like, for me personally, I understand and I respect the craft, where it's like, I understand that it's hard to come up with these, amazing routines that will keep people captivated for an hour long. And, I don't want to cheat the system. So it's like, I'm working really hard to make sure that I can be the best comic I can be. So it's like, and I'm hard on myself. And also, my team, The Basement, shout out to Basement. I feel like another reason I'm so far along in comedy is because of our team. I'm a part of a lot of different amazing comedians that have just started just like me, but we all bounce ideas off each other. We write with each other. We say, nah, that's not good. Don't say this, say that. And we hold each other accountable. So a lot of people don't have that, in different areas. Some people, they have to go through this comedy journey by themselves, and they don't have help. They don't have mentors. They just got to figure it out. But I've been very blessed to be able to have a lot of fire comedy mentors and fire friends that do comedy, that we can bounce stuff off each other, ask each other different ideas to take our comedy to the next level, and yeah.
Have you? So I know you talked briefly, kind of about touring and that sort of thing. So have you done yet a tour, like a
I haven't done a full-out tour. I've done a full-out tour with photography, but I haven't done a tour with comedy yet. Just for the simple fact that I'm just so new at it. Comedy is one of those things where you have to put in work for years to actually get to a place where you're like, okay, I'm really making money with comedy now, and I understand that. So it's like, me personally right now, I'm not worried about making money with comedy. I'm not worried about any of that. I'm just worried about being funny. And, if I make money along the way, if I have different situations along the way that help me, push me, that's what, I'm happy for those situations, but I'm just concentrating on being funny. And killing any show that I have, being not comparing myself to anybody, but anytime I get on stage, being better than I was the last time. Kind of like me against me type shit.
I think that's a great piece of advice too, like paying your dues and doing, doing enough shows and enough sets in your kid, well, sets too with music, where you work out material and say, okay, maybe this song, this joke doesn't work out well, and you end up distilling your stuff really to great, a great set that hits every time you get up and play. And I think that a lot of entertainers that get into the entertainment business and start doing things kind of expect, there's in every city that I've ever lived in, there's always this thought of like, oh, venues need to pay more. They need, just because people do shows for free, they're not paying well. And there's something to that. Okay. Yes. But there are comedians that are getting paid millions of dollars to do what they're doing. There are musicians that are getting paid millions of dollars to do what they do that are new and upcoming. So maybe, just maybe, you need to work on your craft enough where people are going to be offering you money to do what you do versus expecting it when you haven't put in the work to
Gotta
get
put in
to
the work,
it,
man.
right?
I mean, you have like for example, I think a good example would be Matt Rife. Like, a lot of people think that, I don't know if you know who Matt Rife is, but he's huge with
the sexy guy.
Yeah, I want to say but
Allie's like, I know who that is.
He's doing,
but he does
amazing. He's an amazing comedian. But
I heard some stuff. He does all crowd work. So some comedians are like,
that's not necessarily true. He has a lot of bits. He also has a Netflix special that's about to drop soon too. And he's funny. I've watched all his comedy specials. He's extremely funny. But the thing with Matt Rife is people think he just was an overnight success. Like, he had he just dropped some TikToks and then they went viral. But people don't know that he's been doing comedy since he was like 13, 14. So he's put in that work. He's put in those. He's put in the work where when the opportunity actually came from him blowing up, he was prepared for it. So
do you want to know something? I had that exact thought in my car today on the way back from the gym. As a matter of fact, I went for a run or whatever. No, I didn't actually do it there. I ended up doing it here.
I got a question to ask. I'm sorry.
But,
can we pause this first? I have to pee so bad. When I drink, 100%. I have to pee.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, what I'm going to do, instead of pausing it, I'm going to talk to the camera here because I had the exact same thought that you had, and luckily our in-ears are wireless. Oh yeah, we're almost at the end of the the set.
Sorry.
No, go do your thing.
I was trying to hold it, and I was like,
But the thought that I had, and if we can get in real close and intimate here,
I got it.
let's get in real close and intimate. But I thought about the putting in the work and the effort it takes and the overnight success and that sort of thing, and with Matt Rife in particular, he's a good-looking guy, and so there's this. I think from a lot of men, and I think he talked about this on an interview I saw him actually with, as a matter of fact, on some other comedian's show, and he was like, you're very attractive, and so how does that affect your sets and how does it affect your comedy? And he said he typically, if he goes and he plays a set, typically all the guys have their arms crossed in the audience, waiting to like hate him or whatever or not like it. And all the girls are really excited about the set and ready to be entertained or whatever because they've seen the YouTube, or what are they called now? The TikTok, the reels and that sort of thing. Reels. I think that was a title of one of the episodes. But by the end of it, right, all the women hate him because he's been picking them out in the audience and doing crowd work with them, and then all the men are laughing along with it and all that sort of stuff. But driving home, like putting in the work, tends to be overlooked, and the overnight success part of it never is the case. Like there's always this assumption that, okay, you're successful because it's been handed to you. And I think that's a new I don't want to say noob. What is that called? An amateur take on it. As you first get into a business or you first get into doing things, you kind of feel like you're a fraud. And so you're going to assume that the person that's being successful at it somehow has taken this magic pill or found this magic thing, or their parents gave them all this stuff that allowed them to do it. And that's almost never the case. I think in general, the individuals and the people that are successful, especially in the entertainment business, but not only the entertainment business, in every business, have started out by almost faking what they're doing, right? Getting out there and being terrible, and then coming into their own and finding their voice in the situation. And Matt Rife is one of those people where I think he found some success via like TikTok and via the reels and all that sort of thing, and that's what got people to look at his art first, right? And then when they come to his shows, though, he better deliver.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's where the preparation meets
opportunity.
I stalled, right? I stalled for a long time to get back to that point.
I like what you did.
But okay, we got a couple of minutes left. But going from being prepared when the opportunity comes, you do all those free shows and you work on your art and you become great at what you're doing. Not perfect, obviously, because you're always going to grow,
right,
but become ready so that when the opportunity presents itself, maybe he didn't think, this is going to be a big thing, this TikTok thing that I'm doing, but he blew up. And then when people come out to his shows, he's not just like unprepared, I don't know what's going on. He's been building these sets,
exactly, killing
audiences locally, right? And then when he blows up, now he could probably sell out theaters.
He's selling out theaters. He's selling out all over the world right now.
Before that, he was playing to probably maybe a couple hundred people, maybe.
He said before that TikTok, he said he was getting ready to quit comedy. He said I was just watching this interview on him the other day. He was saying before that TikTok that went viral came out, he created this show with another comedian, and they ended up a festival wanted to take their show on, and they didn't want Matt, they just wanted the other comedian that was with Matt. And the comedian told them, like, well, if you don't let Matt come, then I don't want to do it, blah blah blah. So they basically said, I'll let Matt come, but he won't get paid or anything like that, but he can do the show, which still was a good, it was still honestly was a good opportunity, I guess, for him at the time. So I guess he was saying, like, he was making the TikTok, and he wasn't even gonna post it at first, and his friend was like, just post it, see what happens, and then it just went viral. So it's just like, it's just when opportunity means preparation, that's success. So
yeah.
He worked hard for it, though.
I think that's one of the best pieces of advice that I can give, or at least pieces of knowledge that I've learned. I don't even know if it's advice. It's just knowledge that I've learned. Like, when the situation arises, be ready to do it.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yeah, and be prepared for it. And I think that was like an Arnold Schwarzenegger thing, like that I learned a long time ago.
Get to the job.
That's right. So I'm going to put you on the spot now here because we've got maybe we got a couple of minutes here left.
Okay.
But first, everyone that's watching or has stuck around this long, I'm hoping that you're subscribed already. And if you're not, I'm coming to your house.
Subscribe. And I'm
subscribe
to my boys' podcast.
I'm going to take
man.
your hand and I'm going to forcefully put it on the subscribe button and the like button and the little bell thing too. Isn't there a little bell thing that you can get notifications? And then comment and tell me what you did like, what you didn't like. If you hate my face and you want me to wear a mask the whole time, I'll do it. I'll do it, Chris. I'll do it. Where can they find your comedy, your photography? If you got OnlyFans,
right? OnlyFans. My OnlyFans is popping. Not just playing. So they can find me on Instagram at I_am_good news. The good news is spelled GOODKNEWS. I also have a website which is goodnewsphotography.com. I'm on TikTok as Good News. On Facebook as Christopher Cardwell or Good News Photography. So yeah, I'm around. If you just Google the name Good News, GOODKNEWS, I'm Googleable.
We'll put all the links in the thing. So you got to send me. I forgot to send you that, but you got to give me a bio and all the links and all that stuff. And do you have? I mean, this is the most terrible way to have comedy delivered is for me to be like someone sits down that's a comedian. You want to really annoy comedians and you see them at a comedy club. As a matter of fact, go out to LA and go to the Comedy Store because I've eaten above it.
That's a legendary
have you
comedy
been out
club
there
right there. Not yet. I want to go to the Comedy
Real
Store. That's like one of my
which every
oh man,
like CBGB's shithole.
Oh my god, that's crazy. I actually heard that, but it's still a legendary club.
Just a mess, pee everywhere.
That's crazy.
But if you want to really annoy comedians, go there and be like, "Oh, tell me a joke. You're a comedian." Do that sort of thing. So I'm going to do that to you, Chris. Now, do you have something you can, even if it's a dad joke, just for the people watching at home? What?
Yeah, sure. Let me think of something real quick. What can I?
And then I guess what shows.
I have a show coming up actually in Buffalo on this Thursday.
So this might not air for a couple of weeks, so maybe into...
Okay, so I got a show December 22nd.
There you go.
I'm booking for this new comedy club called The Vault. So we're bringing Joe Claire. We're going to have Izzy the Comedian on there, Yolanda Smiles, Freddie Dulles. I'll be hosting the show. Joe Claire is a legend in the game, so I'm excited to have him here in town and be hosting for him.
In Rochester.
Yep, December 22nd. Tickets are going on sale now, so... check out, damn, I forgot where it's going to be. I forgot. This Vault Comedy. It's a new comedy club that's going to be opening.
I think I saw something about that.
So this is brand new. So I'm excited to bring the first show there. They picked me to kind of start helping with the booking and stuff for this
awesome.
club. So I'm excited about it. But in terms of a joke, let's see. Name one thing white people cook better than black people. Meth.
You son of a... It is true. It is true, though. Yeah, they really got a lock. They got a lock on that recipe. They got a lock. Chris, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
I really
this is
appreciate
an awesome
it.
experience.
I know
man.
we went a little bit over, and I
had fun with it. Did we? It's like it went quick.
Yeah, it was about an hour, right? Give or take. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're a busy guy and all that. But I promise you, I got to come out to one of your shows here soon.
That would be great.
I've been so busy. I've been meaning to do it. So maybe that one on the 22nd. When did you say this Thursday?
Well,
I might
this
actually
Thursday,
be in Ohio.
It's in Buffalo. I do open mic every Wednesday at Rock Cinema, so feel free to come out.
Do you ever have musicians do anything like that?
I don't. But you know what?
I'm going to come up with...
some people did some things. I did this show at Rock. It's called Rock Cinema in... not Rock Cinema, I'm sorry. Secret Society comedy shows in Cleveland. And they had one of the guitar players play some stuff. So I I have to show you how they did it, but I think it might be kind of cool to do something like here. Maybe I could talk to you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm planning next year tours and all that kind of stuff. So maybe we do something together. Because I'd like to do some art with you, man.
I'm ready.
I think we're on the same wavelength.
Let's do it. Let's do it, man.
So Chris, Good News, Cardwell, thank you everyone for watching.
Thanks for having me, man. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to my boy's podcast, man. He's doing amazing things. Yeah, I'm positive.
You sure about that? That's why. quoting a TV show now. Chris, I really appreciate it.
Thanks again, man.
Love you, man. And everyone that's watching, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're listening on the audio podcast, thank you to Seed and Stone Cider and Lucky Buzz Meadery for sponsoring the show. And we're still looking for a few more sponsors. So if you're interested, you've been watching this, let us know, and we'll be happy to promote you on the podcast. And we'll see you on the next one.
Positive mind, positive grind. Let's go.
Thanks, guys.
Mm.